Welcome back. This I wasn't going to run this today, but it just landed in my lap. This has to be the most exciting video to me that I've ran this year. This video, and it's called Institutional Accountability. They are being sued. We ran some videos on this where the judge said they can be sued. Now they are being sued. We're going to give you the latest on this. Hang in there. Former Jehovah's Witness elder's conviction prompts new lawsuit against the organization. A new sexual abuse lawsuit linked to the Fort Kent Kingdom Hall is seeking accountability on a larger scale. We're going to run the video, the news clip here in a bit. First of all, this is from Fort Kent, Maine. A former elder at the Fort Kent Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, convicted last year of child sex assault, is serving the maximum sentence for his crime. And now a new lawsuit is linked to the same Kingdom Hall that is seeking accountability on a larger scale. Ernest Fian spent years holding one of the highest positions in Fort Kent Kingdom Hall, elder. And during those years, he sexually abused at least 2 children. Fiennes sits in prison right now serving a 20-year sentence for those crimes. And meanwhile, the case that put him there continues to have a ripple effect. So all these cases, it sounds like maybe there can be a ripple effect off all these abuse cases. We're going to look at this, and we're going to look at the victim and see what the victim is prompting you to do if you're involved in a lawsuit with Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, Shannon Semendinger was one of the victims in the case that led to Fiennes' prison sentence, and she testified against him during the trial, recounting her own allegations of abuse. And she says, "It made me feel not as scared anymore," Shannon said, explaining how those moments on the witness stand emboldened her to seek her own justice. And she says, "I wish I could have done it sooner. I tried to do it sooner," she said, around 1985, when she was about 6 years old. And she says that 3 men within the Fort Kent Kingdom Hall began sexually and physically abusing her. Can you imagine? 3 men. Wow. And she said that 2 of the men were elders, including Ernest Fiennes. And Shannon tried to speak out, telling her mother, who then reported it to the police. However, Shannon said it ended up doing more harm than good. Her mother was punished by the congregation. And Shannon said she was blamed for her own abuse. Can you imagine that? Now, we were told to go to the Kingdom Hall the next day and sit at a table with elders, including a couple of them that had assaulted me. And they made me pray for forgiveness. Can you believe that? They made the victim pray for forgiveness. Now, for years, Jehovah's Witness congregation have reportedly required members to handle misconduct allegations internally, and Shannon claims this policy resulted in her being silenced, allowing her abuse to continue unchecked for years. Now, it made me feel like I was worthless. I was always scared. All these years later, Shannon said she still struggles with PTSD, depression, and the fear that speaking out will hurt her relationship with her current congregation in Pennsylvania. And specifically because she filed a lawsuit this month, but instead of going after her alleged abusers, it targets Jehovah's Witness organization itself, including its national headquarters in New York. And Shannon and her attorney, Michael Bigos, are aiming to set a legal precedent for institutional accountability. Now, our client experienced institutional betrayal as a result of how they treated her when she brought her claims to them and asked them to stop. So the lawyer is saying, who practices at, this is what he's saying. So what's good for them is now good in court. Institutional betrayal. Institutional betrayal. Institutional accountability is what they're going for. So I think that's great. Let's look at the news article. So institutional accountability is the process of measuring and reporting how an institution performs, how it responds to stakeholders in society. It involves a variety of expectations and responsibilities. So what does institutional accountability include? Well, it means reporting. Public institutions submit annual reports that include their goals, objectives. Transparency. Well, we know Jehovah's Witnesses are not transparent, but reports should be clear and logical and avoid duplication. Stakeholders. Well, we don't know who the stakeholders are except these 11 men in New York. Well, the institutions are accountable to a variety of stakeholders, including students, donors, and the public. Us, in the congregation. Social needs. Institutions should respond to society demands and social needs. And compliance. Institutions should comply with professional and personal standards of conduct. Environment. Institutions should anticipate changes in environment and trust. Institutions should secure public trust. So let's take a look at the news clip on this situation.
A former Jehovah's Witness elder at the Fort Kent Kingdom Hall is serving the maximum sentence for child sexual assault. The man was sentenced last year. Now there's a new lawsuit involving the same Kingdom Hall.
This suit is directly targeting the Jehovah's Witnesses organization. Pearl Small looks into what precedent that plaintiff is hoping to set.
A man who once held one of the highest positions in Fort Kent's Kingdom Hall spent years there sexually abusing at least 2 children. Former elder Ernest Fyans now sits in prison for those crimes. Meanwhile, the case that put him there continues to have a ripple effect.
It made me feel not as scared anymore.
Shannon Simondinger wasn't one of the victims in the case that led to Fyans' prison sentence, but she did testify against him during the trial, recounting her own allegations of abuse. She says those moments on the witness stand emboldened her to seek her own justice.
I wish I could have done it sooner.
Around 1985, when Shannon was 6 years old, she says 2 elders, Fyans and another member of the congregation, began abusing her both sexually and physically. She told her mom, who reported it to the police, but Shannon says that did more harm than good.
And then we were told to go to the Kingdom Hall the next day, and a table with the elders, including a couple of them that had assaulted me, and they made me pray for forgiveness.
For years, Jehovah's Witness congregations have required reports of misconduct to be handled internally. Shannon says this resulted in her being silenced, and her abuse continued for years.
It made me feel like I was worthless, and I was always scared.
Now, all these years later, Shannon says she still struggles with PTSD, depression, and fear that speaking out will hurt her relationship with her current congregation in Pennsylvania, specifically because she filed a lawsuit this month. But instead of going after her alleged abusers, she's going after the entire Kingdom Hall. Shannon's attorney, Michael Bigos, says they are also targeting the organization's national headquarters in New York.
Our client experienced institutional betrayal as a result of how they treated her when she brought their claims to them and asked them to stop.
The Jehovah's Witnesses' New York headquarters would not comment on the lawsuit. However, they did say they empathize with all victims of abuse.
We want the Jehovah's Witnesses to take full and fair responsibility, not just empty promises and empty apologies.
Shannon says she hopes she can inspire other survivors to come forward and join her fight to set a precedent that this abuse will not be tolerated.
I would like to say I want to fix it all, but I'm sure that I can't, but I would like to try.
Just like the Fyans criminal case had a ripple effect, Shannon hopes her lawsuit does as well. Pearl Small, News Center, Maine.
Plumbing.
What do you think of that? This certainly changes the dynamics of these lawsuits against Jehovah's Witnesses. Not only is the culprit, the elder responsible, getting locked up in prison, but now the organization, the 11 men that sit behind the name of the faithful, discreet slave, they can now be sued. And Shannon Simondinger was one of the victims. And she's went public as suing the governing body, and she's inviting all of you out there that have cases to join with her. And I will post this link in the description so you guys can search her out. But you can now sue the governing body as an entity. This lawsuit is in progress. We will be following it. It will be interesting to see how JW.org tries to fight this one. So thanks again, folks. Keep living your life with love. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help us get these videos out. Like and share. And you can join our coffee club. That helps us to keep this channel rolling. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.